Greetings brothers and sisters, thank you for coming back to watch our videos, and thank you for 10,000 subscribers. We are grateful, and if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Today we are celebrating, and we are celebrating because Ecowas decided to lift sanctions on Niger with immediate effect. That was on Saturday 25th Feb 2024. And this was not just for Niger, it was also for the AES and also Guinea. So they had an extraordinary meeting, Ecowas meeting on Saturday in Nigeria, Abuja, where they sat down and decided that these sanctions needed to be lifted. And without forgetting that these sanctions were laid on Niger on the 30th of July 2023 after they decided to put their hands on the government and take their government by force on the 26th of July 2023, and General Abdurrahman Chiani became the president of Niger. The sanctions were many, they were wicked, and people of Niger suffered, but they still kept hope and decided we are not going back. And finally, it has paid. So, what were these sanctions that were laid on by the Ecowas so that General Abdurrahman Chiani can bring back the puppet president Mohamed Bazoum?
The first sanction was the closure of land and air borders between Ecowas countries and Niger. Alright, number 2, the establishment of Ecowas no-fly zone on all commercial flights to and from Niger. Number 3, suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger. Then there's freezing of all service transactions, including utilities. Number 5 is the freezing of the assets of the Republic of Niger in the ECOWAS central banks. And then we have 6 as freezing of assets of the state of Niger and state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks. Guys, the list is endless. Number 7, the suspension of Niger from all financial aid and transactions with all financial institutions, in particular the EBID and WADB. Alright? Number 8, travel ban and asset freeze for military officials involved in the coup attempt. The same goes for their family members and civilians who agree to participate in any institution or government established by these military officials. And then the final one, we have calls of UEMOA and all other regional bodies to implement this decision.
Imagine, UEMOA is the central bank, the Bank of West Africa. And imagine, these were so wicked that a lot of people died in the hospitals because it involved banning of food and medicine. Food leads to starvation. If you don't have food, you starve. Medicine, people died in hospitals. Then we remember Nigeria blocked or banned or stopped supplying electricity to Niger. And there were blackouts and blackouts and blackouts where even people in hospital, imagine kids in incubators in hospitals, a lot of them died.
And it's just that they are not giving us the figures.
Exactly.
It should be
but
a lot
they are saying thousands.
Yeah.
So on January 29th, 2024, just a month ago, do you know what happened? Of course you can remember what happened. The 3 countries of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, you know, last year they had formed the Alliance of Sahel States in December, but now they said we are leaving ECOWAS to go and create our own organization, which is the Alliance of Sahel States. And once they went and decided that, that's January 29, 2024, we saw a lot of things happening. We had even the president of Nigeria, who is the chairman of ECOWAS, calling them a ghost organization. We saw, they used to say Phoenix organization or amateur organization, something like that. Then we saw the president of Benin, Patrice Talon, talking about dropping of these sanctions. But they are dropping these sanctions because of one thing. The sanctions, although they had affected Niger, Nigerians were like, we are not giving up, we are not going against our government, let us die. And as some died and as some continued fighting, we saw French leaving, we saw ECOWAS countries, other countries like Benin, we saw their port empty. We even had reports of things getting bad, agricultural products going bad in Cote d'Ivoire. Nigerians' power production, you know, they were selling to Niger, started going up.
And the prices were high.
The prices were raised so that they can cover these extra losses that are coming. So, Patrice Talon, that is the president of Benin, was talking about, we cannot keep on, you know, laying these sanctions on these guys. But it's because he was paying. And we also talked about the president of Togo, who was allowing these guys to use the airport. That is Faure Gnassingbé. Then, this guy talked about calling to president. He made a call to 2 presidents, which we are insinuating was President Tinubu and the president of Cote d'Ivoire, who is the biggest puppet we've ever seen in West Africa. That is Alassane Ouattara. And when they called, after some time, we saw these guys rushing to both guys. Right. That is Ouattara and Tinubu. Though Tinubu, they said, was going for medical checkup.
Which is also a disgrace. How do you even say I'm going for medical checkup?
Exactly.
When you have Nigerian doctors in the US, in Europe.
So he went to France, and Ouattara left the AFCON and went to France too. And when they came back, we had reports that were secret Ecowas meetings. We even put it on our channel. Then immediately, the following weekend, there would be an extraordinary summit. And here they are. So what are these sanctions that they have lifted? Because they lifted the economic and left the political. Political sanctions are very minimal. But then all these are economic sanctions. So what are these?
We want you to listen to this presentation by the president of the Ecowas Commission, and we will be back with our commentary.
On sanctions, the authority has resolved as follows. The authority has resolved to lift with immediate effect the following measures imposed on the Republic of Niger. A. Closure of land and air borders between Ecowas countries and Niger to be lifted. No-fly zone of all commercial flights to and from Niger is to be lifted. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger is to be lifted. Freezing of all service transactions, including utility services, is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of the Republic of Niger in ECOWAS central banks is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of Niger state and the state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks is to be lifted. Suspension of Niger from all financial assistance and transactions with all financial institutions, particularly EBRD and BUYD, is to be lifted. Travel ban on the government officials and their family members is also to be lifted. This decision is based on humanitarian considerations, especially as we are in the month of Lent and as we prepare for the holy month of Ramadan. The authority has also resolved to lift the sanctions regarding the recruitment of Malian citizens in statutory and professional positions within ECOWAS.
So the president of ECOWAS Commission also added this.
The authority recognizes that the 3 member states represent 17.4% of the region's 425 million population. Even though they represent 10% of the region's GDP, their departure will constitute a reduction of the market size of ECOWAS. The authority recognizes that intra-community trade may also be disrupted, especially trade in unprocessed goods such as livestock, fish, plant, agriculture produce, mineral products. It will also affect traditional handicraft products as well as industrial products of community origin.
In summary, he's saying that the population of the AES is about 17.4% of the whole ECOWAS. Then he says they contribute about 10% of the GDP, which, if they leave, it's going to affect the market size of ECOWAS, which is true. Although the 10% GDP, okay, because of population. But he also said that it will also affect intra-community trade, which is the trade between these countries. You see, we are talking about Cote d'Ivoire agricultural products going bad because they have banned the export to these countries. We are talking about Nigeria not selling power to Niger. We are talking about air transport. Remember the other time we talked about the German minister who was in Nigeria.
Go back.
But he had to go back and refuel so that he can look for an alternative.
She was refused to go through
Niger.
The Niger space.
Yeah, because there's no way you can ban me from using your airspace,
And you still
but you want to use mine.
Hey!
So Nigerian government said no. And we realized that the people who are suffering in this is not even the people of AES. It is the Ecowas. Then he also talked about the intercommunity trade, which is very important, and they were going to use big time. Then this is what Tinubu said after this. He's saying, listen to this video.
Democracy is nothing more than the political framework and the path to addressing the basic need and aspiration of the people. This is why we must re-examine our current approach to the quest for constitutional order in 4 of our member states. I therefore urge them to reconsider the decision of these 3 nations to exit our home and not to perceive our organization as the enemy. Of course, we are not the enemy. I am confident that though our collective efforts and determination, we will navigate the challenges before us and chart a new course towards a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous West Africa.
He's saying that they are not the enemy. Like, we are not the enemy. You should not see us as the enemy, but you should reconsider. You should consider your decision to leave Ecowas. Imagine, he's begging them to come back. And sometimes ago, we even talked about a letter where, he was calling them this small nonsense they have created, pushes who do not represent the will of the people. Now he's begging them. It's getting serious. But we have a question. Is this the same Ecowas that Ibrahim Traore and Abdurrahman Chiani say that it was taken by France in 1991? What is the idea here? Because these guys, remember, they went to France. Then after they came back is when they decided to allow them to go.
Yeah.
Like, we are dropping the sanctions.
After being summoned by their masters.
So is this African leaders or French leaders?
Have you seen the meeting, the very same meeting where they lifted the sanctions? It is full of, and I know for sure those are just French delegates. At some point I was thinking maybe it's the media, but you can literally see that this is a delegation coming from the EU or whatever.
EU.
Probably
it's all white.
Even France. And it is after they are suffering, after realizing that these guys are not going back, these guys are not retaliating, they realize that we are the ones who are losing here. Yeah. We are the ones who will go back home without anything for our people. So let us beg these guys to come back and believe, because everybody was saying, why do you even want these guys to come back? And you've forgotten about the sanctions that you imposed on them. So they realized, people are still talking about the sanctions. That is the non-issue. We can just leave that and maybe these guys will reconsider their decision. But we just love it because Traore, Chiani and Assimi Goïta don't seem like they are to disappoint us in any way possible, because these guys are very much straight in their decision.
They are very straight. But
so,
the biggest deal was, even when Traore was talking in his speech, in his interview, he was saying that the reason that they are leaving Ecowas, it's because, one, Ecowas doesn't belong to the people, it belongs to France. Number two, Ecowas said that they are going to invade Niger, so they have a force waiting. But they cannot use this force to fight terrorists, because terrorists are owned by their masters. And number three
you are ready to invade your member state, which you should be helping to get out of some problems.
And number three is Ecowas. These 3 countries contribute to very little. They have banned us from contributing to that very little, and they still, they sanctioned us, and it's very little. So as at this point, we are not contributing to that market, and they are stopping us from it. So it's like it's even better if we are out. Then these people also saw something which, you know, which was coming, because with Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso leaving and creating the AES, let's go to Senegal. There were demonstrations on that day in Senegal, and they were the demonstrators were talking about free Senegal and Russia. We want Russia. So imagine they want Russia. Where is Russia? It's in the AES. Senegal wants to join AES, and if it joins AES, mostly the condition will be you have to leave Ecowas. So Ecowas is crumbling, and we cannot save it. It's crumbling. So to save it, and you know the master is scared, because if he loses Ecowas, it's over. Because these countries start becoming independent, they might join AES, we have lost.
And France will remain with their bed bugs and nobody to help them.
Exactly. And if they lose West Africa, it's over. So they are scared. And the only way to save is to allow these guys to, you know, to continue trading. Like, let us, because the people are getting tired. Imagine power is rising, our products are going bad, we cannot sell, our port is empty, we are not making money. So our economies are crumbling. So if we don't let these guys continue trading with us,
problem for
our
us.
people will revolt against us. The way we were thinking these guys will revolt, our people will revolt, and we might lose all this economic
because people are starting to wake up. They're realizing, why are we not in AES, by the way? Is it because of our puppet president? Exactly. What do we do about this guy? Do we oust him?
And we've been seeing comments from people from Nigeria, you know.
Yes, everybody's saying, how I wish Traore was my Nigerian president. Exactly. In fact, Nigerians are crying for Traore. Begging. But the power is in your hands, Nigerians. It's just a matter of, let me not even say how you have to do it, but you know it yourself. I remember Tinubu saying that they are lifting these sanctions because, you know, they are upholding democracy, the principles of democracy. They are also upholding some of the principles of their, you know, organization, which has some, constitutional, some humanity, I don't know what. And I was wondering to myself, is it because it's only now that they've remembered there's something called democracy. They've remembered that there's humanity. After all this time, they didn't care about all of these factors that they are saying right now. So who is being fooled here? The only humanity is for them to keep on eating money from these guys, and that is the only humanity. You know, once you see that, hey, my bank is getting dried, and the only way I can refuel it is by bringing back this stupid man, I will have to do it just
when
for
you
my
want
bank.
to use them.
Of course.
And it's when the masters have given you the conditions, the order. So we are hoping that the three premiers, that is Assimi Goïta, Abdurrahman Tiani, and Ibrahim Traore, will never forget. And even the Guinea president, Mamadou Doumbouya, because his sanctions have also been lifted. We hope that you never forget. And the Nigerians, the Malians, the Burkinabe, you never forget what this puppet organization did to you. You never forget that you lost your brothers and sisters in hospital because of these sanctions. Never forget. And I hope that you don't go back to this.
And we love the fact that Tiani, Traore, well, Goïta is not so vocal, but I think I've also seen him trying to tell people what is happening, because if people have the history, if people have the knowledge, there's nothing that you can do to manipulate them.
And that's what Traore said in the last video that we uploaded. Is in his speech to the committee of Citizens Watch. He said that if we don't talk, people are saying that we talk too much, but if we don't talk, it's manipulation that takes over.
Yes, if you don't sensitize you guys about what is happening in the Sahel, some people think that Traore and all of these people are bad guys. I even remember a comment saying, you should be, you're taking the country undemocratically, you are the biggest thief, I don't know, biggest criminal that has ever happened to West Africa, you know, addressing Traore. And to me, that was just some ignorant person who's showing their ignorance online to say that I have no understanding of what is happening, but I have the voice to say this is what is happening without any understanding. So if we do not sensitize people about these issues, people tend to take the side of the Western media.
And guys, anytime you hear them talk about democracy, it's a lie. It's nothing, because Democracy is not African. If we go to Niger, Niger was under the Songhai Empire. After the Songhai Empire was also the Mali Empire, and that's where we get Mansa Musa. Those guys were kings. When you go, that is West Africa. Anywhere, Igbo, Benin Kingdom, those were kingdoms. When you come to the east, Ethiopia, you find kings, emperors. When you come to East Africa, maybe somewhere in Kenya, you find leaders, council of elders, you know, people used to lead together, but it was never democratic. Okay? Nobody would sit and say the Western democracy. It was never Western democracy. And it was so in China, Russia, even in the United Kingdom today, they have a king.
And the systems work.
But they say that they left us democracy. They left us democracy, but they are not democratic.
Hey.
Systems work. They have been working. Africa should not be democratic. We need to look for our own way of, you know, governing, and like what they want to do in those East countries, and stick to that.
And at least we have a model to copy and paste from, hoping that all of these other puppets will follow suit, just like your Bazooms.
Yeah, exactly. We're hoping that we are going to drop them puppets and move on with liberation.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Guys, let us know what you think about this big move. Do you still have, I saw people fearing that, hey, they must not go. And the good thing about the AES states is that when they were called for this ECOWAS meeting, did you see Traore? Did you see Goita? Did you see Abdurrahmanchani? These guys know how to delegate their roles. We're seeing presidents nowadays, AU meeting,
The Iran.
Harara meeting, you are there. Don't you have, you know, even for Niger,
prime ministers,
for Niger, you see the prime minister going to talk to Putin, going to talk to these people, because they know how to delegate. They trust that these are the people that are there in the systems and they will be able to deliver. Traore sends his, you know, representatives to go and represent in big meetings. He's not there. Brits was in Niger the other day.
We even saw the Prime Minister, Lamin Zein. That is the Prime Minister of Niger. He's the one who is going to Russia,
he goes
Turkey,
everywhere.
Iran.
BRICS is here. He's the one representing Chani. Because they believe in their...
President of Kenya.
Nana, Ghana, everywhere. You have to see these guys' faces. And why do you have ministers? Why do you have prime ministers? Why do you have all of these people if you cannot trust them to do the work? And that's the same reason that these people are inviting the West to come and lead us, because they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in their people, they don't believe in Africa's capability. How much more to the youth of Africa? They don't see us as anything. How can we develop our continent if we continue that way? Guys, let us know, are you being fueled by this thing? You know, it's angering us every time we talk about such nonsensical things happening in our continent. So let us know in the comment section down below. And please don't forget to like the video, share the video. If you have not subscribed, please definitely subscribe. And thank you once again for 10,000, road to 100,000. And see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.